Bonjour, je suis not manly, ici le voyage d'espace, je ne sais quoi, and welcome to part 26, where we are visiting Celes, the first moon of Eeloo, 400 kilometers across. A very tiny moon here with very little surface gravity, surprisingly so for its physical dimensions. It has a day of about 400 hours. It is tidally locked with Eeloo and a pretty interesting inclination at 10 degrees. Same with its sibling Tam, so getting to both shouldn't be too hard. Delta V from low Eeloo orbit. Getting out here is pretty easy if you can get to Eeloo. Almost minuscule amounts of Delta V by comparison, and landing is kinda like Minmus, a little less than Minmus, I'd say for sure. When you get out here, there are some beautiful ice canyons when viewed from space. It has a very impressive science multiplier, and I should hope so given its distance away from Kerbin. And pretty easy landing and ascent with lots of flat areas, but when you get there it's pretty boring. And there are only 4 biomes, even if those biomes offer very large amounts of science. When we last left our heroes Valentina, Bob and Doug Kerman, they were admiring the view of the inner system from Eeloo and getting ready for an insertion into a polar orbit above Celes. Now, we're not going to use the warp drive to get out there. It was just easier to do a polar orbit. Since we were already doing a polar orbit from Eeloo, it made sense. And we do have the time, you know. But we did get out here about 12 days later, and we have already found an anomaly on the surface. But just to show you how dark it is out here, even worse than it was at Lindor, I turned the brightness down to almost nothing. Just to show you, look at that. It is pretty dark out here. The light of the sun is barely as bright as Bob's headlamp there. Not bad at all. It's even worse from the other side, look at that. Eeloo's bright atmosphere does show it off a bit from this distance though, as does the very bright ice surface on Celes. Inserting was pretty cheap, a mere 150 meters per second. We were pretty high up too, so it ended up being less than that. We end up doing a pretty high polar orbit to try to pinpoint the location of that anomaly. But here we go with our approach to Celes, look at that. From this distance, a pretty ordinary looking rock, but that cueball likeness is pretty remarkable in and of itself, even with the cracks that extend across large amounts of its surface. And you're pretty much going to get just flavors of ice from this distance from now on. I'm going to show you just how cold it is out here once we get down to the surface. And there we go. We'll do a 70 by 70 orbit once we are at our maneuver. Here we go. And there we go. We should have more than enough Delta V on the lander rover to be able to get down there and back, even from this altitude. I'm hoping from a polar orbit we'll also get a good look at any oddball shapes on the North Pole. And there we go, 70 by 70. A moment later we separate out the lander rover, and we got Bob and Doug Kerman at the controls again. We'll send Valentina down to the surface of Tam when we head out there. Let's get those engines lit up there, Bob. There we go. And hey, we got Delta V to spare. Let us try to get a good approach over the anomaly if we can. Now, I've got that docking port pointing the other way, so I'm pointing directly opposite of my maneuver node. This isn't like the other craft where I had the docking port on the top. For some reason it had issues with that. But hey, that's okay. We did get our descent going. We get some gravioli science as we pass over different biomes. There we go. And I barely see it here, but I can see a black speck in the distance already. Let's see if I can point it out on the screen here. I think it was on that hilltop there, just near one of the RTGs there. Let's see. Come on, mouse pointer, show us where it is. I think, yep, there it is. Okay, so I realize where it is and I'm like, oh, I need to slow down right now. Oops. Come on, Bob. Get over to that object. No point in landing and trying to drive over there. Again, the anomaly objects do show up before any ground scatter does, so you can see these things at greater distances. And again, just like all the other non-stock worlds that are based on the Moho template, we're not going to get any science boosts for this. But hey, nope, not a problem. Just finding the thing is a great success. And come on, Bob. We're gonna touch this thing down, looks like on the side of the hill. I try to write it, but I've got the thing stuck in prograde lock, and I'm like, oops. Prograde hold, that's not gonna quite work, but let's see if we can touch this thing down. Whoop, hit the wrong key there. Come on, prograde hold. No? Okay, touchdown! Kinda, sorta. Only problem is it's still stuck in prograde hold. Come on there, Bob, get control of this thing. I do get it controlling from the cockpit, only now it wants to go prograde downhill. Ah, there we go. Finally, we wrestle this thing under control and get it back up the hill toward that object. It is one of the random monoliths. Up, 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 up we go. Come on. Celes and its pretty weak gravity. It's actually pretty deceptive because maybe this craft is too heavy or the thrust weight is too low that I expected, but I didn't realize I'd have a hard time landing this thing. Get over there, Bob. There we go. With successfully parking in front of the random monolith, we get out there and we plant a flag on top of it. My goodness. Not bad there, Bob, not bad at all. And there we go. Episode 26th flag. There we are. Celes Randolph. And that's not the only thing Bob finds out here either. Taking a quick look around, we do find one object that looks a little different from all the scatter objects out here. At least I think it is. Let's get up there and find out. Yeah, that looks pretty familiar. Oh, yeah, there we go. Tylolite stone. Well, again, they have to reuse existing making history. Existing breaking ground objects when they plant these things. Yep. Pretty expensive paperweight, though, with a pretty decent Hall of Science. There's another object out here that looks a little different from all the normal scatter. Je ne sais quoi scatter has a unique appearance to it, so when you see something that doesn't look like it, it kind of stands out. But in this low gravity, rather than driving out there, Doug here is just going to fly the rover over. If I can just be a little more careful about landing this thing, getting over there this time. Come on there, Doug. There we go. Touching down almost right on top of Bob. Hey, Bob, get out of the way! There we go. Touchdown. Let's take a proper scan of this thing. Yeah, it does look a little different. Yeah, that looks like the Tylo Darkstone. Let's see if that's the case there. Oh, come on. Yep, Tylo Darkstone. But the scanning arm is having a problem getting over to it. I'm just gonna walk the rover over. There we go. Let's try again. Hey, not bad there, Bob. Not bad at all driving that thing. Yeah. Look at that. Over 700 science and... well, where are the strawberry stones? We found the blueberries. I wonder if we got strawberry ones out there somewhere. We do find one more object by taking a look around, and that's one I haven't seen before either, kind of like the Gilly Ridgeline I saw back on Hammock. I wonder what this thing is. Tylo checkerboard. Really game. That don't look like a checkerboard to me. Okay. Yeah, outcrop, yeah, light and dark, etc. Yeah. Is it some alien plaything, or are we alien plaything? Well, aside from the almost 1,000 science, look at that. Well, yeah. You guys actually are playthings of some incomparable alien minds. Anyway, a little driving around. There's a good shot of the inner solar system from all the way out at Celes. Look at that. I can't quite tell which world is which from up here. Try driving along and, well, not every day you materialize on top of a piece of ground scatter. Anyway, a quick reload later and we try this again, pick a different target, and we make it out to the highlands safely. We're up at the poles now, and look at that, 4 Kelvin. That is how far out we are away from the sun. That is as close to absolute zero as I think you can get without things just stopping entirely. There's the inner system again, and there is Eeloo in the distance to the right there. Very similar to Valentina's view with Lindor, Jewel, I think that was Duna, Eve, Moho, and Kerbin, and I think that's either Drez or Edna, and also Edna or Drez over there by Duna. Wow, that is how far out we are. But enough sun gazing and stargazing, it's time to get back up to the main mission craft. We're at the very, very tip of the pole there, and there's no unusual object here. I think there were just a couple of terrain seams, but that was it. And here we are trying to lift off, but where's our control? Oh, let's turn the reaction wheels back on. That ought to help. There we go. So I wasn't sure which way to go here, so I just went straight up for a little bit, and I looked for the target retrograde marker, thinking, well, let's just reduce our speed relative to the target. There we go. And there we go, that way. Good enough. Passing over the North Pole proper, there are those terrain seams there, just a little blip on a hill. Not quite as bad as some places. With Eeloo in the distance and some of the inner planets as well. Pretty easy approach. We have just enough delta V for this. Actually, we did have some to spare, although I was a little careless with the fuel tanks on this launch. I'll be more careful with Tam and with Eeloo itself. Pretty easy approach. We've done this many times already. We got practice at Hammock. So, nice little cue ball out in the middle of space. Definitely not like Minmus and its colorations, lots of cracks on the surface, but from a distance it's pretty white and pretty snowball-y. Not bad. Don't know how else to describe it. There we go. A bit of docking issues later and we got that sorted out. After Doug struts this thing up and Bob retrieves the science from those experiment storage units, we get back into the hab and we rebalance this craft for an ejection out to Tam. As we see in the next episode though, Tam is pretty much lined up with Celes, so we'll be able to warp out there in the next episode. Until then, I'm not Manly. Fly safe.